So we're going to show you what to do once you first open up Cubase. So here I'm going to go to the most recent project file. This would be from like last week. It's always just hanging out in the recents area there. And once that opens up, I'm going to go through and just see this is like all the audio that we recorded like last week. And I am going to save this as a new project file for this week. So we're just renaming that here. And now I'm going to go through and just select all of the audio and just delete it out of the session because that's last week's stuff. Now here, when you're in the arrangement view of Cubase, there's all these there's this little tab on the left-hand corner, and this is the track visibility. So say one week we have, a certain number of people on the stage, and another week we have, more people. I might have to enable or disable tracks just to get the tracks in or out of the view of the session. So here I'm happy with how many channels are in the session, so I'm just going to leave that number, and here we are with all of the mics or the channels we're going to use for this week. So now we need to get all of the tracks ready to go for recording. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the one at the very end. This would be W6. Then hold Shift and click the one at the very top. That gets me to be selecting all of the input channels. Then I'm going to record enable all of them and record monitor all of them. This allows the tracks to be ready for recording and to be heard or monitored by us in the session. To make all of those buttons red and all of those buttons yellow that I did was I held Control and Alt before clicking one of those record enable or record monitor buttons. This makes it so it's way quicker to get up and ready to go before the service starts. Now once all of those tracks are ready to be recording, the only other thing we need to do in here is to hit record, but before we do that, I'm going to go over to the mixing window, which is where we're going to spend most of our time. We can get there quickly by hitting the Control and equals sign button. And now we're here. You can see at the top I'm adjusting the width of the tracks. And here we're going to talk about some important tips for working in this mixing window. So pay attention to these tracks here and look how on every one of them we have M, S, L, and E. So if you're familiar with working on a mixing console, you'll be familiar with the mute button and possibly the solo button as well. One crucial tip here for us is to not use the solo button. The way we have everything set up here in our system is we need to use the listen button if we want to listen to a track individually. And once all of the audio gets to the Livestream computer on the other side of the room, you will still be hearing the regular mix. However, if you hit the solo button, that is going to solo the track for you, and also it's going to send that soloed track to the live stream. We don't want that. So if you want to listen to a track, remember the listen button, the L button below the mute button. Do not use the solo button for really anything in the way we're working. All right, now let's check out our group tracks. You can come over here and you can pop all of these faders up by holding Control and hitting the fader. And then we can control all of them by doing a similar shift click thing like we did earlier and holding Control and Alt, and we can move all of those at the same time if we needed to for some reason. All of these groups correspond to the colors of the individual tracks, so pay attention to those colors and you'll see where all of the tracks are heading towards. Just like our main mixing board in the booth, we also have a reverb channel. Here it is on the purple fader on the very right side of the screen. We send tracks to that channel in a very similar way to our real board, and I can show you that in person sometime if you're interested. But for now, let's take a look at all of these weird little blue squares in the top of the mixing window. These are called plugins, and plugins are how we do all of our processing on every channel in a mix. It's where our EQs are, it's where compressors and gates hang out, and it's where any other tools that we want for the track to manipulate its sound is going to hang out. So let's open one of these plugins up. Now, if you hover to the middle of any one of these blue squares, you'll see the weird little E button to open the plugin up. And here we're opening up a couple of EQs. Now, these EQs look very different to like an analog mixing console, and don't worry about that. If you don't really understand something, just ask one of us, and we'd be happy to help you understand what it means and help you change an instrument's sound. We also have compressors here, and we also have like some gates and some other tools that we're using throughout the session to help control the sound of all of our channels. If I open up one of these EQs and I grab the yellow line, I could just click and start manipulating its sound right away. and that's a super intuitive way of changing the sound of a channel. And then I can also do like the old school way, like we have on our mixing console, where we grab the frequency knob and the width knob and all that stuff. If I wanted to grab another one of these plugins, I can click any empty square, and here I'm going to type in Pro Q3 because that's my favorite EQ plugin, and we can get another one of those going. And we have all sorts of other tools as well. All right, now let's go ahead and get ready to record our session. So I hit the Control and equals button. Now I want the playhead to go to the start of the session, so I can hit the Enter button, and you can see it went to the start of the session there. I'm going to make sure I have all of my tracks ready to go, and I'm going to hit the Record button or the asterisk button on the numpad. Both of those will hit and get the session recording and going. If I zoom in, I can see my audio is recording, and now we're good to go. Now go back to the mixing window and start tweaking that mix and making it sound really good.